The last person I saw before I died was the woman I had loved for 6 years. Claire Bennett, my girlfriend, a Chicago police detective, and the person who betrayed me. I lay on the concrete floor of an abandoned warehouse, blood soaking through my shirt. 20 feet away, Claire stood beside her partner, Detective Jason Cole. He's still alive, Jason said. Claire looked at me. For one stupid second, I thought she would save me. Instead, she asked, "How much does he know?" "Nothing." He thought the package was evidence. My stomach turned. That afternoon, Claire had handed me a black bag. "Drop this off for me." I had trusted her. I didn't know the bag was bait in an undercover operation against the Romano crime family. I didn't know Claire and Jason needed an ordinary civilian to make their trap believable. And I definitely didn't know Claire had been sleeping with Jason behind my back. "Call an ambulance," I whispered. Claire reached for her radio. Jason stopped her. "If we call anyone, the operation is exposed. He'll die. This investigation is bigger than him." Claire went silent. That silence told me everything. For 6 years, I had supported her career. I paid most of our bills while she attended the academy. I stayed awake waiting for her after night shifts. I believed every excuse she gave me about Jason. And now my life had become a price she was willing to pay. "Claire," her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Ethan." I laughed weakly. "Sorry." Jason looked toward the exit. "We need to go." Claire hesitated. I stared at her. "Please, one word." 6 years of love inside it. Claire closed her eyes. Then she turned away. "We have to go." Something inside me broke. I watched them walk toward the warehouse doors. "You know what the worst part is?" I called after her. Claire stopped. "I would have died for you." She looked back. I smiled bitterly. "I just never thought you'd be the one who killed me." The doors closed. They left me there, alone. As my vision faded, I remembered the engagement ring hidden beneath my workbench. I had planned to propose next month. What an idiot. Then everything went black. "Ethan." My eyes snapped open. I sucked in a breath. No warehouse. No blood. I was sitting inside my apartment. Claire stood near the door wearing her police uniform. I touched my chest. "No wound. What the hell is wrong with you?" she asked. I grabbed my phone. March 14th. My heart stopped. That wasn't possible. I had died on June 18th. I had gone back 3 months. "Ethan." Claire checked her phone. That tiny movement triggered another memory. I remembered this night. Jason had been waiting for her. Claire grabbed her jacket. "I have to work tonight. Don't wait up." In my previous life, I believed her. Later, I discovered she'd spent the night with Jason. This time, I simply asked, "Jason?" Claire froze. "How do you know?" I almost laughed. Same lie. Same woman. Different Ethan. I walked to the counter, picked up her apartment key, and placed it in front of her. "Take it." Claire frowned. We're done." She stared at me. "What? I'm breaking up with you." "Ethan, stop being ridiculous. I'm serious." Her expression hardened. "Because I'm working with Jason." "No, then why?" I looked at the woman who had watched me die. "Because I don't trust you anymore." That finally shook her. After 6 years. Especially after 6 years. Claire studied my face. "Did someone tell you something interesting?" She wasn't asking what was wrong. She wanted to know what I knew. I opened the apartment door. "Jason's waiting." Her face went pale. "How do you know that?" "Goodbye, Claire." She didn't move. "You're going to regret this." I smiled. No, I'd already experienced the regret. I died for it. Claire grabbed her key. "When you calm down, call me." "I won't. You always come back." That was true. The old Ethan always came back. But he had died on a warehouse floor. I looked her directly in the eyes. "Not this time." Claire finally left. The door closed. For the first time in 6 years, I felt nothing. No heartbreak. No fear. Just freedom. Then my phone buzzed. Severe weather alert. Thunderstorms expected Thursday night. I stared at the date. March 17th. Thursday. Suddenly, I remembered something from my previous life. A news report about an assassination attempt near downtown Chicago. 3 armed men, an abandoned black SUV, and a woman who disappeared afterward. Victoria Romano. the feared heiress of Chicago's most powerful underground family. In my previous life, I had never met her, but I remembered exactly where the attack happened, and exactly when. 3 days from now, Victoria Romano would walk into that alley bleeding. 3 men would follow her. This time, I would be there. 3 days later, it rained exactly as I remembered. At 10:17 p.m., I parked my truck 2 blocks from West Monroe Street. I knew how insane this was. Victoria Romano wasn't some innocent woman waiting to be rescued. She was the daughter of Michael Romano and heir to one of Chicago's most powerful crime families. Claire's unit had spent years trying to get close to the Romanos. In my previous life, that obsession eventually got me killed. But tonight wasn't about Claire. It was about changing my own future. I checked the time. 10:26. Then I heard it. A gunshot. I ran toward the alley. A black SUV had crashed against a dumpster. 2 men were down near the vehicle. Then I saw her. Victoria Romano. She wore a black coat. One hand pressed against her side. Blood covered her fingers. 3 men blocked the alley. One raised his gun. You should have stayed in the car. Victoria. She didn't look afraid. You should have brought more men. Even injured. She sounded like she was the one threatening them. I grabbed a metal pipe lying beside a construction barrier. The gunman stepped closer. I threw it. The pipe slammed into his wrist. His gun hit the pavement. Everyone turned toward me. What the hell? Good question. I rushed forward before they recovered. One man punched me hard enough to make my ears ring. I hit him back, grabbed his jacket, and drove him into the wall. I wasn't a fighter, but dying once had changed something in me. Fear didn't control me anymore. Then I heard Victoria's voice. Move. I immediately stepped aside. She had picked up the fallen gun. The 3 men froze. Victoria pointed it directly at them. Leave. 1 word. That was enough. They backed away before disappearing into the rain. I leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Victoria studied me. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably stupid. Her eyes narrowed. Who are you? Ethan Miller. Police. I almost laughed. No. Moretti. No idea who that is. That seemed to surprise her. She pressed harder against her wound. You need a hospital. I don't. You're bleeding. I noticed. Then stop arguing. Her eyes became colder. Do you always give orders to strangers? Only the ones bleeding to death. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then, unexpectedly, Victoria Romano smiled. Barely, but I saw it. I drove her to a private hospital. The moment we arrived, everything changed. Men in dark suits rushed toward us. One immediately reached inside his jacket when he saw me. Victoria stopped him. He's with me. The man's hand dropped. He saved my life. Suddenly everyone looked at me differently. That made me uncomfortable. I knew this world. Not personally, but I died because Claire wanted access to it. I wasn't interested in becoming part of it again. 2 hours later, Victoria asked me into her private room. She looked completely different now. Clean clothes, bandaged wound, controlled expression. This was the Victoria Romano Chicago feared. A folder sat on the table. She pushed it toward me. I owe you. You don't. I don't like owing people. I opened the folder, then froze. $100.000.000. Even knowing it was coming didn't make the number look less insane. Victoria watched me carefully. Enough to change your life. I closed the folder. No. For the first time, her expression cracked. No. No. Do you understand how much money that is? Yes. Then why are you refusing? Because in my first life, I had learned what happened when people treated human lives like transactions. Claire had traded mine for an investigation. Jason had traded mine for a promotion. I wasn't going to put a price on Victoria's life. I didn't save you for money. Victoria stared at me. Everyone wants something. Maybe. I pushed the folder back. But not me. She studied me for several seconds. You knew who I was tonight. It wasn't a question. I nodded. Yes. And you still stepped in. Yes. That was harder to answer. Finally, I said, because I know what it's like when everyone decides their own interests matter more than whether you live or die. Something changed in her eyes. She didn't ask what I meant. Maybe she knew better than most people. I stood. Take care of yourself. Victoria. Ethan. I stopped. You're strange. I smiled. I've been called worse. I walked out without the money. For the first time since my rebirth. I felt like I had changed something that actually mattered. But I didn't know how much. The next morning, Claire was waiting outside my apartment. She looked angry. Where were you last night? I unlocked my door. Why do you care? Ethan. We broke up. Remember? She grabbed my arm. I heard something happen downtown. I looked at her hand. Claire slowly released me. Interesting. The police already knew. That's your job, I said. Not my problem. Her eyes searched my face. Were you near Monroe Street? I didn't answer. Ethan, this is serious. So investigate it. I stepped inside. Claire blocked the door. Did you meet Victoria Romano? There it was. I looked at her. For the first time. Claire seemed genuinely nervous. Stay away from that woman. I almost smiled. You don't understand who she is. Actually, I understood more than Claire realized. Victoria was dangerous. So was Claire. The difference was simple. Victoria had never pretended otherwise. Claire lowered her voice. The Romanos destroy people. I looked at the woman who had once left me bleeding on a warehouse floor. Funny. What? Nothing. I started closing the door. Claire stopped it. Ethan, I'm trying to protect you. Those words nearly made me laugh. Don't. Her face changed. What happened to you? I looked at her for a long moment. You did. Before she could respond. I closed the door. That afternoon, 3 black SUVs stopped outside the repair shop where I worked. My coworker Ryan stared through the window. Ethan. Yeah. Please tell me you didn't piss off the mafia. I looked outside. 4 men in suits stepped onto the sidewalk. Then the rear door of the middle SUV opened. Victoria Romano got out. Ryan slowly turned toward me. What the hell did you do? I sighed. Apparently, I saved her life. You what? The entire shop went silent as Victoria walked inside. Everyone moved out of her way. She ignored them. Her eyes found me immediately. Ethan Miller. Victoria Romano. She stopped in front of me. I've been thinking about you. Ryan nearly dropped his wrench. I stared at her. That sounds dangerous. A faint smile appeared. Usually. She placed another folder on my workbench. I didn't touch it. If that's more money. The answer is still no. It isn't. What is it? Victoria looked directly into my eyes. Dinner. I blinked. What? One dinner. With me. Yes. For the first time. The most feared woman in Chicago looked almost uncertain. Because everyone I've ever met wanted something from Victoria Romano. She paused. You didn't. Her voice softened. And I want to understand why. I should have refused. I knew getting closer to her meant danger. I knew Claire's unit was investigating her family. I knew exactly what happened when police and the Romano family collided. It had killed me once already, but this was my second life. I wasn't going to spend it hiding from everything that frightened me. I looked at Victoria. One dinner. Her smile returned. One dinner. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything truly changed. In my first life, Claire Bennett had led me toward death. In this one, Victoria Romano was about to lead me somewhere I had never expected. And this time, I was choosing the road myself. Dinner with Victoria Romano was surprisingly normal. At least, as normal as dinner with the most feared woman in Chicago could be. She chose a small Italian restaurant in River North with private booths and no photographers outside. When I arrived, she was already waiting. No guards, no assistants, just Victoria. You came, she said. You sound surprised. Most people don't make me wait. I sat across from her. The 7 exactly. A faint smile appeared. That's why you're interesting. I picked up the menu. You invited me here to study me. Maybe. That's slightly creepy. Victoria actually laughed. I hadn't expected that. The woman Claire's police unit described as cold and ruthless suddenly looked like an ordinary young woman. For a second, I forgot who she was. Then she asked, why did you refuse the money? We already discussed this. I didn't believe your answer. Which part? That you wanted nothing. I leaned back. In my experience, when someone puts a price on everything, eventually they put a price on people too. Her expression changed. Someone did that to you. I thought about Claire. The warehouse. Jason telling her the investigation mattered more than my life. Yes, Victoria didn't push. That surprised me. Instead, she said quietly, "Then we have something in common." Before I could ask what she meant, my phone buzzed. Claire Bennett. I declined the call. Victoria noticed. "Your girlfriend." "Ex-girlfriend." "Recent." "Very." "Does she know you're here?" I smiled. "I worried she'll arrest you." Victoria's eyes narrowed playfully. "Should I be?" "She might try. Then she'll have a difficult evening." I laughed. My phone buzzed again. This time Claire sent a message. "We need to talk." I turned the phone over. Victoria watched me. "You still love her?" The question caught me off guard. In my previous life, the answer would have been immediate. Yes, I would have died for Claire Bennett. Actually, I had. Now, no. Victoria studied my face. "You answered quickly. Some lessons only need to kill you once." Her eyes sharpened. "What does that mean?" I realized my mistake. Nothing. Victoria clearly didn't believe me. But again, she didn't push. That was another difference between her and Claire. Claire always wanted control. Victoria wanted truth. Strangely, the woman everyone called dangerous made me feel less trapped. When dinner ended, Victoria walked outside with me. "You're different from what I expected," she said. "What did you expect?" "Someone trying to impress me." "I drive a truck with a broken passenger door." I noticed. "That hurts." Victoria smiled. Then headlights swept across the street. A familiar sedan stopped nearby. My smile disappeared. Claire stepped out. Of course. She walked directly toward us. "Ethan." Victoria glanced at me. "You know her." "My ex." Claire heard that. Her jaw tightened. "Can we talk?" "We're talking now." "Alone?" "No." Claire stared at me. Then her attention shifted to Victoria. Her entire posture changed. "Police officer." Victoria noticed immediately. "Detective Bennett," she said. Claire looked surprised. "You know me?" "I know the detectives investigating my family." Silence. Claire's hand moved unconsciously toward her belt. Victoria's eyes followed it. I stepped between them. "Enough." Claire looked at me. "You need to come with me." I almost laughed. "Excuse me, Ethan. You don't know what you're getting involved with." Victoria's expression became colder. "He isn't going anywhere." Claire turned toward her. "I wasn't talking to you." Victoria stepped closer. "You came to his dinner." "I came because I'm worried about him." "Interesting." Victoria looked at me. "He said you were his ex." Claire's face hardened. "This isn't your business." Victoria smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "If Ethan is involved, I'll decide what's my business." I stared at her. That sounded dangerously possessive. For some reason, I didn't hate it. Claire grabbed my arm. "Ethan, listen to me." I pulled away immediately. Her face changed. "In 6 years, I had never done that." "Stop touching me." "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing. You've known this woman for 3 days. And we've been together 6 years." Claire froze. I continued. "We were together 6 years." Her eyes became red. "So that's it." "Yes. You throw away 6 years and immediately start seeing someone else." The hypocrisy almost impressed me. I looked at her. "Should we ask Jason what he thinks?" Claire went completely pale. Victoria's eyes moved between us. "Who is Jason?" Claire ignored her. "How much do you know?" There it was again. Not "what are you talking about?" "How much do you know?" I smiled. "Enough." Claire stared at me. For the first time since my rebirth, I saw fear in her eyes. Not fear that she had lost me. Fear that I knew the truth. I turned toward Victoria. "Ready?" She nodded. Claire called after me. "Ethan." I stopped. Victoria Romano is dangerous. I slowly looked back. Claire stood under the streetlight, angry and desperate. I thought about the warehouse, about begging her to call an ambulance, about watching her leave. Then I looked at Victoria. The woman everyone feared had nearly died 3 nights ago. Yet she had never lied to me about what she was. "I know." Claire shook her head. "No, you don't." I smiled. "That's the difference between you two." "What?" Victoria never pretended she wasn't dangerous. Claire went silent. I walked away. 2 days later, Claire appeared at my apartment again. This time she wasn't angry. She looked exhausted. Ethan, please. I stayed in the doorway. What do you want? I want to fix this. There is nothing to fix. 6 years don't disappear overnight. For you, maybe. She stared at me. What does that mean? I almost told her everything. That I knew about Jason. That I knew about the operation. That I remembered dying while she walked away. But I stopped myself. Claire didn't deserve an explanation yet. She needed to live with uncertainty. I know you've been lying to me. Her face tightened. About what? You tell me. She looked away. That was enough. Ethan. No. I made mistakes. Mistakes. She finally looked at me. Jason and I. My stomach tightened even though I already knew. Claire swallowed. It wasn't supposed to happen. I laughed softly. The exact kind of excuse I expected. How long? She hesitated. Ethan. How long? Almost 3 years. Even knowing the answer didn't make hearing it easier. 3 years. Half our relationship. I nodded. Claire stepped closer. But it doesn't mean I never loved you. That's supposed to help. I ended it. Another lie. At this point in my previous life, she was still sleeping with him. I simply said, go home, Claire. She looked shocked. That's all you're going to say. What do you want me to do? Get angry. Her voice cracked. Yell at me. Ask me why. Do something. I understood then. Claire wanted the old Ethan, the man who cared enough to fight. But she had already killed him. I don't care anymore. Those 4 words hurt her more than anger ever could. She stared at me. Then a black car stopped at the curb. Victoria stepped out. Claire looked from her to me. Something changed in her expression. Jealousy. Real jealousy. Victoria approached us. Am I interrupting? No. Claire answered at the same time. Yes. Victoria raised an eyebrow. I almost laughed. Claire looked at me. You're really choosing her. That question was ridiculous. But maybe Claire finally understood. This wasn't a tantrum. I wasn't waiting for her apology. I wasn't coming back. I choose myself. I paused. And right now, I want to be with Victoria. Claire's face went white. Victoria didn't smile. She simply moved beside me, close enough that our shoulders touched. Claire looked at us for several seconds. Then she turned and walked away. For the first time, she was the one leaving because she had no choice. Victoria watched her disappear. She still loves you. No. I shook my head. She loves knowing I belong to her. Victoria looked at me. And do you belong to her? Yes. I smiled. Not anymore. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, good. I looked at her. Good. She turned toward the car. You heard me. For the first time, I saw something almost shy beneath that cold expression. And I realized something dangerous. Victoria Romano wasn't trying to repay a debt anymore. She was falling for me. And maybe I was starting to fall for her too. A week after Claire confessed the affair, 2 detectives walked into my repair shop. One of them was Jason Cole. Seeing him alive made my body tense. In my previous life, this man had watched me bleed on a warehouse floor and convinced Claire to leave me there. Now he smiled and offered his hand. Ethan Miller. I didn't take it. What do you want? His smile faded slightly. We need to ask you some questions about Victoria Romano. Of course. I wiped my hands on a towel. Then asked. Jason glanced around. Somewhere private. No. His partner looked surprised. Jason stepped closer. You were present during an attack involving Romano. I helped an injured woman. And now you're dating her. Is that illegal? Depends what you're doing for her. There it was. The same arrogance I remembered. Jason believed everyone could be used. He just hadn't realized I remembered exactly how he operated. He placed a small device on my workbench. I recognized it immediately. A recording device. We need your cooperation. With what? You're close to Victoria. She trusts you. My expression hardened. Jason continued. Wear this when you're around her. We only need information about her family. I stared at the recorder. It was happening again. Different place. Different reason. Same trap. In my first life, Claire had handed me a bag and told me to trust her. Now Jason wanted to turn me into bait directly. I picked up the recorder. Jason smiled. Smart choice. Then I dropped it into his coffee. His face froze. What the hell? I said no. You don't understand what you're refusing. I understand perfectly. Jason stepped toward me. Romano is a criminal. Then arrest her. We need evidence. Get it yourself. His expression darkened. You think dating her makes you untouchable? No. I leaned closer. I just know what happens to civilians when you decide an investigation matters more than their lives. Jason suddenly went still. How would you know anything about that? I smiled. I guess you're not as difficult to understand as you think. For the first time, Jason Cole looked nervous, and I enjoyed every second of it. Claire arrived that evening. She didn't knock. She marched into the shop. What did you say to Jason? I continued repairing an engine. Hello to you too, Ethan. I'm serious. So am I. She lowered her voice. He said you accused him of using civilians. I didn't accuse him. I looked up. I described him. Claire stared at me. Then she saw the ruined recorder sitting beside Jason's coffee cup. Her expression changed. He asked you to wear that. Yes. I told him not to. That surprised me. Because you're not trained for this. I laughed. Claire frowned. What? Nothing had changed. She still thought the problem was training, not morality, not using someone who trusted you. You really don't understand, do you? Understand what? I walked toward her. In your world, everyone becomes useful or useless. That isn't fair, isn't it? No. Then tell Jason to stay away from me. Claire hesitated. We need Romano. There it was. I shook my head. Of course. Ethan, Victoria isn't innocent. I never said she was. She runs a criminal organization, and Jason wants me to sleep beside her while secretly recording her. Claire had no answer. Which one of you is supposed to be teaching me about trust? Her face tightened. This is bigger than your relationship with her. Those words hit me like a bullet. Exactly what Jason had said before leaving me to die. This is bigger than you. For a moment, I wasn't in the repair shop anymore. I smelled blood, rain, concrete. I heard Claire saying, we have to go. My hands curled into fists. Get out. Claire blinked. What? Get out. Ethan, you already killed me once. Silence. Claire's face went pale. What did you just say? I realized what I'd said, but I didn't take it back. You heard me. What does that mean? I walked past her. Nothing you need to understand. She grabbed my arm. No, you've said things like that before. Her voice shook. You know things you shouldn't know. You knew about Jason before I admitted it. You knew where Victoria would be attacked. She stared at me. What are you hiding? For the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. I pulled my arm free. Maybe you should worry about what Jason is hiding. What? Ask him how far he's willing to go for that promotion. Claire froze. I walked away. This time, she didn't follow. Victoria was waiting outside my apartment that night. One look at my face and she knew something was wrong. What happened? The police want me to spy on you. Her expression turned ice cold. I told her everything. The recorder, Jason, Claire. Victoria listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked, why did you tell me? Because I'm not going to lie to you. She stared at me for a long moment. You realize I could use this against them. I know. And you're still telling me. Yes. I looked at her. Because someone I loved once asked me to betray my own judgment in the name of trust. My voice lowered. It won't happen again. Victoria's expression softened. She stepped closer. Ethan, what? If being around me becomes too dangerous, you can leave. I almost laughed. Are you trying to get rid of me? I'm giving you a choice. That stopped me. Claire had never given me one. She lied because she thought she knew what mattered more. Victoria, the woman everyone called ruthless, was standing in front of me offering exactly what Claire had taken away. A choice. I already made it. Victoria looked at me, and I'm staying. For once, she had no clever answer. She simply reached for my hand. Her fingers closed around mine. Then her phone rang. Victoria answered. Speak. Her expression changed immediately. Cold. Dangerous. What happened? She listened for several seconds, then looked directly at me. When she ended the call, I knew from her face that something was wrong. What is it? Someone attacked one of my security vehicles. Moretti. Yes. She paused. But that's not the problem. What is? Victoria handed me her phone. There was a photograph on the screen. Me. leaving work, taken from across the street less than 2 hours earlier. Underneath it was a message. Every queen has a weakness. I stared at it. Victoria's voice became quiet. They know about you. I looked at her. Then what? You leave Chicago tonight. No, Ethan. No. Her eyes hardened. This isn't Claire. This isn't Jason. Vincent Moretti will kill you just to hurt me. I stepped closer. And if I leave, I'll handle him. Alone. She said nothing. That was my answer. I shook my head. No. Why are you so stubborn? Because I've already spent one life letting other people choose what happens to me. Victoria stared at me. This time she caught the wording. One life. I said nothing. Her eyes narrowed. Ethan, what aren't you telling me? I looked at the woman standing in front of me. Sooner or later, I would have to tell her the truth. That I died. That Claire had betrayed me. That this wasn't my first chance at life. But not tonight. Someday, I said. Victoria studied me. Then she squeezed my hand. Fine. What? You stay. I smiled. That was easier than expected. I wasn't finished. Her expression turned cold again. If Moretti wants to make you my weakness. She stepped closer. Then he's about to discover how dangerous I become when someone threatens what I've chosen. For the first time since being reborn, I wasn't facing danger alone. And strangely enough, the woman standing beside me wasn't the police detective I'd once trusted with my life. It was Victoria Romano, the woman the police had warned me to fear. Victoria was right. Vincent Moretti came for me. 3 nights later, I left the repair shop and immediately noticed a black sedan across the street. Same car I'd seen that morning. I turned toward my truck. 2 men appeared behind me. Ethan Miller. I didn't answer. A 3rd man stepped from the alley. Too late. I reached for my phone. Someone hit me from behind. Everything went black. When I woke up, my hands were tied to a chair. An empty warehouse. Again. For several seconds. Couldn't breathe. Concrete floor. Metal walls. Rain against the roof. My first death came rushing back. Claire walking away. Jason telling her to leave me. I forced myself to stay calm. This wasn't that night. I wasn't that Ethan anymore. A man walked toward me. Vincent Moretti. He smiled. So you're Victoria Romano's new obsession. Disappointed. A little. He pulled over a chair. I expected someone more impressive. I repair air conditioners. Vincent laughed. That's exactly what confuses me. He leaned closer. Victoria could have senators, billionaires, judges. Instead, she chooses you. Maybe she has bad taste. His smile disappeared. I want you to call her. No, you don't know what I'm asking yet. You kidnapped me. I'm guessing it isn't dinner. Vincent studied me. Then he placed a phone on the table. Tell Victoria to give up control of the South Side routes. And if she doesn't, you die. I looked at the phone. In my previous life, I had begged Claire to save me. Not this time. No. Vincent frowned. You think Victoria will choose territory over you. That's not why I'm refusing. Then why? Because I'm not letting you use me to control her. His expression hardened. You're willing to die for her. I smiled bitterly. I've made that mistake before. Vincent didn't understand. But I did. I wasn't dying for someone again. I was buying time. Because before they took my phone, I'd activated the emergency location feature Victoria had forced me to install. For once, her paranoia was useful. Vincent grabbed my collar. You think you're brave? No. I looked him directly in the eyes. I think you made a mistake. What mistake? You made her angry. Victoria found me 43 minutes later. I heard shouting outside. Then gunshots. Vincent's men started moving. One rushed toward the rear exit. Another shouted, Romano's here. Vincent's face changed. For the first time, he looked afraid. I smiled. Told you. He pulled out a gun. The warehouse doors burst open. Victoria entered, surrounded by her security team. I'd never seen her like that. No smile. No hesitation. Only cold fury. Let him go. Vincent grabbed me and pressed the gun against my head. One more step. Everyone froze. Victoria's eyes locked onto mine. For one terrible second, I saw Claire. Another warehouse. Another person deciding whether I was worth the risk. Vincent smiled. Now we find out how much he matters. Victoria didn't even look at him. She looked only at me. Ethan, I'm okay. You're bleeding. Occupational hazard. This isn't funny. Her voice cracked slightly. That surprised everyone. Especially Vincent. He smiled. There it is. Victoria's expression turned cold again. What? Your weakness. He pushed the gun harder against my head. The great Victoria Romano finally has something to lose. Victoria stared at him. Then she said quietly, "You misunderstand." Vincent frowned. "Ethan isn't my weakness." She took another step. "He's my choice." The room went silent. Vincent started turning toward her. That was the opening I needed. I drove my shoulder into him. The gun fired. Victoria shouted my name. Her men moved instantly. Seconds later, Vincent was on the ground and the weapon was gone. I barely had time to breathe before Victoria reached me. She cut the restraints herself. "Are you hurt?" "Just a little." "Where?" "Victoria." "Where?" I pointed toward my shoulder. She saw the blood. Her face went pale. Then she grabbed me. Not carefully. Not elegantly. She wrapped both arms around me and held me against her. Everyone stared. I could feel her shaking. "Victoria, shut up." I smiled weakly. "Are you crying?" "No." "You definitely are." She pulled back and glared at me. "You almost died." Something about those words broke through me. Because Claire had once watched me die. Victoria had walked into a warehouse full of armed men because she refused to let it happen. I touched her face. "I didn't, but you could have." Her voice was barely a whisper. And suddenly I couldn't keep the truth inside anymore. "I already did." Victoria froze. "What?" I looked at her. "I've died before." Later that night, we sat alone in one of Victoria's safe houses. My shoulder had been treated. Victoria hadn't left my side once. Finally, she said, "Explain." So I did. I told her everything. My first life, Claire, Jason, the undercover operation, the package, the warehouse. I told her how Claire chose the investigation over calling an ambulance. How she walked away while I was still alive. How I woke up 3 months earlier. Victoria listened silently. When I finished, I expected disbelief. Instead, she asked, "That's why you knew where I would be attacked?" "Yes." "And why you hated Jason before you supposedly knew him?" "Yes." She looked down. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me?" "No." I laughed. "Exactly. But I believe you now." That surprised me. Victoria looked at me. "Because nobody looks at death the way you do unless they've met it." Silence filled the room. Then she asked, "Do you still love Claire?" "No." "Do you hate her?" I thought about it. Once, I wanted Claire to suffer. But now, I don't want revenge anymore. Victoria raised an eyebrow. "That's disappointing." I laughed. She didn't. "I want you to understand something. Ethan." "What?" She moved closer. If I had been there that night, her eyes hardened. "I would never have left you." I knew she meant it. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." "Victoria, if my family, my power, everything I own depended on abandoning you." She took my hand. I'd let it burn. I stared at her. Nobody had ever chosen me like that. Not in either life. That's a dangerous thing to say. I'm a dangerous woman. I smiled. "That you are." Victoria looked at me for several seconds. Then she kissed me. No warning. No hesitation. For a moment, I forgot about Claire, Jason, Vincent, my first death. There was only Victoria. When she pulled away, the feared heir of the Romano family actually looked nervous. Was that a mistake? I smiled. "No." "Good." She kissed me again. This time, I kissed her back. The next morning, Claire called. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. "What?" Her voice sounded strange. "Ethan, we need to talk about Jason. What happened?" I checked something. I sat up. Victoria looked toward me. Claire continued. "An operation he's planning." My expression changed. "What operation?" "A civilian infiltration." My blood went cold. It was beginning. The same kind of operation that killed me in my first life. Claire's voice shook. "You were right." I said nothing. "I found documents." "Ethan." She took a breath. "Jason is planning to use an untrained civilian as bait. Exactly like before." Claire whispered. "How did you know?" I looked at Victoria. She was watching me quietly. This time, however, I wasn't alone in that warehouse. I wasn't begging anyone to choose me. I had already chosen my new life, and Victoria Romano had chosen me. Claire, yes, you're finally asking the right question. I ended the call. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Trouble. I put the phone down. Jason. Her expression immediately hardened. What do you want to do? That question mattered. Not what should I do? Not what are you going to make me do? What did I want? I took Victoria's hand. This time, I smiled. We make sure nobody else dies for his career. And for the first time since my rebirth, I knew my second life wasn't only about escaping my first death. It was about becoming the man I never had the chance to be. Claire sent me the files that afternoon. Jason's plan was almost identical to the operation that had killed me in my first life. Different target, different warehouse, same method. Use a civilian as bait. Let the Romano family believe the civilian was carrying stolen information. Then follow whoever came to collect it. I stared at the document. Victoria stood beside me. So this is how you died. Yes. Her expression became frighteningly cold. And Claire knew. Not everything at first. But when you were bleeding, I nodded. She chose the operation. Victoria said nothing for several seconds. Then she picked up her phone. I caught her wrist. No. Her eyes narrowed. Ethan. No killing Jason. I didn't say I was going to kill him. You had the face. What face? The murder face. I have several. I laughed despite myself. That's not reassuring. Victoria slowly lowered the phone. Then what do you want? I looked at Jason's files. In my first life, I had died powerless. This time, I wanted something different. I want him exposed. Claire agreed to meet me at a coffee shop the next morning. She looked exhausted. I confronted Jason. That was stupid. I know. Does he know you copied the files? I don't think so. You don't think so? Claire looked down. For the first time, she didn't look like the confident detective I'd spent 6 years admiring. She looked scared. I was wrong. Ethan. I said nothing. About Jason. About the investigation. She swallowed. About you. There had been a time when those words would have meant everything. Now they meant almost nothing. Claire looked at me. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. When you said I'd already killed you once, I froze. How did you know what Jason would do? I didn't answer. Her eyes filled with tears. Sometimes you look at me like you've watched me do something terrible. Because I had. Claire reached across the table. I moved my hand away. That hurt her. I loved you. She whispered. I know. I still do. No. Her expression changed. You loved knowing I'd always be there. That's not fair. Maybe not. I leaned back. But I'm not there anymore. Claire wiped her eyes. Is it because of Victoria? No. That surprised her. Victoria didn't take me from you. I looked directly at her. You lost me before she ever met me. Claire went silent. Then she asked the question I'd known was coming. If I had chosen differently, would we still be together? I thought about my first life. About the engagement ring. About the future I'd wanted. Maybe once. The answer would have been yes. But that Ethan was gone. You didn't choose differently. Claire's tears finally fell. I stood. Give the evidence to internal affairs. And Jason, let him face what he did. She nodded. Then I turned to leave. Ethan. I stopped. I'm sorry. I didn't turn around. I know. And I walked away. That was the last conversation Claire Bennett and I ever had about our relationship. Jason was arrested 4 days later. Internal affairs found more than Claire expected. Illegal surveillance, falsified reports, unauthorized informants, and evidence that he had deliberately placed civilians in dangerous situations to advance investigations. Claire testified against him. Her career survived, but not untouched. She lost her position in the Special Investigations Unit and spent months under review. Jason lost everything. His badge, his promotion, his reputation. In my first life, he had stepped over my body to build his career. In this one, I didn't need to destroy him. I simply moved out of the way and let the truth do it. But there was still one problem. Vincent Moretti. He disappeared after the warehouse. And Victoria knew he wouldn't stay hidden forever. She was right. 2 weeks later, Victoria received a message. Come alone or Ethan dies next time. She stared at it, then deleted it. What are you doing? I asked. ending this, together. No, I laughed. She glared at me. Why is that funny? Because after everything I've told you, you still think I'm staying home. Ethan, Moretti wants you there. Exactly. Her expression changed. I stepped closer. He thinks I'm your weakness. You are. I raised an eyebrow. Victoria sighed. You know what I mean? I do. I took her hand. But caring about someone isn't weakness. She looked at me. In my world, can be. Then your world is wrong. For once, Victoria Romano had nothing to say. Vincent's final mistake was believing fear made people loyal. Didn't. Victoria's people discovered his location because one of his own lieutenants turned against him. By the time we arrived, federal agents already had the evidence Claire had helped connect to his organization. Vincent had nowhere left to run. He looked at Victoria and laughed bitterly. All this because of him. Victoria glanced at me. No. She smiled coldly. All this because you thought loving someone made me weak. Vincent was taken away. No dramatic execution. No war in the streets. His empire collapsed because the people around him stopped being afraid. And just like that, the man who had tried to use me against Victoria disappeared from our lives. 3 months later, Victoria took me back to the alley where we'd first met. It was raining again. I looked around. You really know how to plan romantic evenings. Stop complaining. I'm standing in an alley in the rain. You survived worse. Fair point. She stopped beneath the streetlight. Then she pulled out a small black box. I stared at it. Victoria, don't interrupt. I smiled. She opened it. A ring. Simple. Elegant. Nothing like the $100 million offer she'd once placed in front of me. The first time we met, she said, I thought everything had a price. I looked at her. You were very annoying about it. She ignored that. You saved my life and refused my money. Still proud of that. Then you refused to leave when staying became dangerous. Her voice softened. And somehow, you became the first person who saw Victoria before Romano. For once, I had no joke. She took my hand. I spent my entire life believing needing someone was weakness. And now I know losing you would hurt. She looked directly into my eyes. But loving you makes me want to live differently. My chest tightened. Victoria held out the ring. So, Ethan Miller. A faint smile appeared. Marry me. I stared at her. In my first life, I had bought a ring for Claire. I had planned a future with her. A house, children, Sunday mornings, ordinary things. Then I died alone on a warehouse floor because the woman I loved decided her career mattered more than my life. Now I was standing in the rain again. But I wasn't dying. I was alive. And the woman standing in front of me wasn't pretending to be harmless. Victoria Romano was dangerous, complicated, stubborn, sometimes terrifying. But when the moment came to choose me, she came through the warehouse door. She didn't walk away. Yes. Victoria blinked. Yes. I smiled. I'm marrying you. For perhaps the first time in her life. Victoria Romano looked completely stunned. Then she kissed me. 6 months later, we were married. Claire didn't attend. I heard she transferred to another district. Jason eventually went to prison. And Victoria, she was still Victoria, still powerful, still capable of terrifying an entire room with one look. But at home, she stole my hoodies, complained about my truck, and pretended she didn't like falling asleep with her head on my chest. One night, she asked me, "Do you ever wish you could have your old life back?" I thought about it. Then I shook my head. No, not even before everything went wrong. No. She looked surprised. I took her hand. Because that life would have never brought me to you. Victoria became quiet. Then she smiled. People sometimes talk about second chances like they're opportunities to fix the past. I used to believe that too. But I was wrong. My second chance wasn't about making Claire love me better. It wasn't about saving our relationship. And it wasn't even about revenge. It was about finally understanding that sometimes the life you're desperately trying to save is the life you were supposed to leave behind. In my first life, I trusted the woman everyone told me was good, and she left me to die. In my second life, I fell in love with the woman everyone told me to fear, and when death came looking for me again, she was the one who came to bring me home. I thought marrying Victoria would be the end of the story. I was wrong. 3 weeks after our wedding. I came home and found 4 armed men standing in my living room. I stopped at the door. One of them nodded politely. "Good evening, Mr. Romano." I stared at him. "Absolutely not." He looked confused. "Sir, my name is Ethan Miller." Another guard tried not to smile. I pointed toward the kitchen. "Where's Victoria?" "In a meeting." "In my kitchen?" "Yes, of course she was." I walked inside and found my wife sitting at the table with 3 men in expensive suits. Documents covered the surface. Victoria looked up. "You're home early. So are 12 armed strangers. They're security. They're eating my cereal." One of the men immediately put the bowl down. Victoria almost smiled. "Give us 5 minutes." Everyone left. I sat across from her. "What happened?" Her expression changed. "Nothing, Victoria." She sighed. "I received a threat." I stared at her. "We agreed. No hiding things." "I know." "Then why didn't you tell me?" "Because for once, I wanted you to have a normal day." I laughed softly. "You married me. Normal ended months ago." That finally made her smile. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. "I still don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Have someone waiting for me." Her voice became quieter. "Someone I can lose." I understood. Victoria had spent her entire life believing love created vulnerabilities. I had spent my first life believing love meant accepting anything. We had both been wrong. "You don't protect a marriage by hiding the danger," I said. She looked at me. "You protect it by facing things together." Victoria squeezed my hand. Together. Together. The threat turned out to be nothing. A desperate former Moretti associate trying to frighten Victoria. Her people handled it without violence. Life slowly became quieter. Then, one afternoon, I saw Claire again. I was leaving a hardware store when someone called my name. "Ethan." I turned. Claire stood beside an unmarked police car. She looked different. Tired. Maybe. But calmer. "Hey." Her eyes dropped to my wedding ring. "So it's true." "Yes. You married her." "I did." Claire smiled sadly. "Fast. When you know. You know." The words clearly hurt. I hadn't meant them to. That was the strange part. There had been a time when I imagined this moment differently. I thought if I ever got another chance, I would make Claire suffer. I would tell her exactly how she killed me. I would make her understand what she lost. But standing there now, I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to go home. Claire looked at me. "Are you happy?" "Yes." No hesitation. Her eyes became wet. "More than you were with me." I could have lied. Instead, I said, "Yes." She nodded slowly. "I deserved that." "This isn't about what you deserve." "Then what is it about?" I moved on. Claire looked away. "I used to think you'd always be there." "I know. No matter how late I came home. No matter how many times I canceled plans." She laughed bitterly. "I thought loving me was just something you did." That was probably the most honest thing she'd ever said. "I did too." She looked back at me. For a long time, silence passed between us. Then Claire asked quietly, "If you hadn't met Victoria," I already knew the question, "would you have come back?" "No." Her face fell. Because leaving you wasn't about finding someone better." I paused. "It was about finally realizing I deserved better than what we had." Claire wiped a tear from her cheek. Then she nodded. "I hope she knows how lucky she is." A familiar voice came from behind me. "I do." I turned. Victoria stood several feet away. Claire stiffened. Victoria walked over and stopped beside me. Not in front of me, beside me. That small difference meant everything. Claire looked at her. "You followed him." "No." Victoria held up a paper bag. "I was buying coffee." I smiled. "You hate this neighborhood's coffee." I was making an effort. Claire almost laughed. Almost. Then she looked between us. For the first time, there was no anger in her expression. Only regret. "Take care of him," she said. Victoria's expression remained calm. "He takes care of himself." Then she took my hand. "I just make sure he comes home." Those words hit harder than Victoria realized. Claire noticed. Maybe she finally understood why. She gave me one last look. "Goodbye, Ethan." "Goodbye, Claire." This time, when she walked away, I didn't watch her leave. I turned toward my wife. Victoria raised an eyebrow. "You okay?" "Yeah." "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." "Good." I laughed. You're supposed to pretend you wanted to listen. I would have listened, but I'd rather take you home. I kissed her forehead. That sounds better. Months passed. I eventually left the repair company, not because Victoria gave me money. I still refused that. Instead, I used my savings to open my own repair business, Miller Mechanical. Victoria offered to invest. I said no. She offered again. I said no again. On her third attempt, she bought me a new toolbox. That still counts. I told her, no it doesn't. It absolutely does. It's a wedding gift. We've been married 4 months. I was late. I couldn't argue with that woman. The business grew faster than I expected. Not because of the Romano name. I made sure of that. For the first time in either of my lives, I was building something that belonged completely to me. Then one Friday evening, Victoria walked into the shop. Everyone immediately became quiet. She still had that effect. I looked up from an engine. What's wrong? Nothing. You never come here at 6 on Friday unless something happened. She placed a folder on my desk. I stared at it suspiciously. Last time you gave me a folder, there was $100 million inside. This is different. I opened it. Inside were documents transferring several legitimate Romano businesses into an independent trust. I frowned. What is this? My way out. I looked at her. Victoria sat across from me. I've spent my entire life preparing to inherit an empire I never chose. Her voice was calm. I'm keeping the legitimate businesses. Everything else is being separated from me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Because of me. No. She reached across the desk. Because of us. Victoria looked around my little shop. You taught me something. What? That choosing your own life isn't weakness. I smiled. Sounds like something a very intelligent person would say. You said it. Exactly. She rolled her eyes. Then her expression softened. I want a future with you, Ethan. A boring one. Not too boring. House. Maybe. Dog. She frowned. We'll negotiate. Kids. Victoria went completely silent. I laughed. The feared Victoria Romano was finally speechless. Then she looked at me. Someday. That one word gave me a feeling I hadn't expected. Because suddenly I remembered another future. The one I'd planned with Claire. The engagement ring. The apartment. The children I'd once imagined. For years, I thought that was the life I'd lost. Now I finally understood. It wasn't. That life had never really existed. It had only been a future I was trying to build with someone who had already stopped choosing me. Victoria walked around the desk. What are you thinking? I pulled her closer. That I died trying to protect the wrong future. She understood immediately. And now, I looked at my wife. At my business. At the life that shouldn't have existed. Now I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Victoria smiled. Then she kissed me. My first life ended because someone I trusted chose her ambition over me. My second life began when I finally chose myself. But somewhere along the way, something even better happened. I found someone who chose me too. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. 1 year after I died, I woke up beside Victoria. For a few seconds, I didn't move. Rain tapped against the bedroom window. June 18th. The date hit me immediately. In my first life, this was the day Claire handed me the black bag. The day Jason used me as bait. The day I died alone on a warehouse floor. Victoria opened her eyes. You're awake. Yeah. She studied my face. Then she glanced at the date on my phone. She understood. This is the day. I nodded. The day I died. Victoria reached for my hand. Do you want to stay home? I smiled. No. Do you want me to cancel everything? No. Do you want me to have Jason killed? I turned toward her. Victoria. What? He's already in prison. I know where the prison is. I laughed. She smiled. That was Victoria. The entire city still saw a woman capable of terrifying powerful men. I saw the woman trying to make me laugh on the anniversary of my death. I don't want revenge. I said. I know. I just want today to feel normal. Victoria squeezed my hand. Then normal it is. Normal. Apparently, meant Victoria arriving at Miller Mechanical at noon with 6 pizzas. My employees stared at her. Ryan looked at me. Your wife brought lunch. Yes, the Victoria Romano. She has a first name. She also has armed security outside. Victoria looked at him. Ryan immediately picked up a pizza. Thank you for lunch, Mrs. Miller. Victoria smiled. I like him. I shook my head. You scared him. I said nothing. Exactly. For the next hour, nobody talked about crime families. Nobody talked about police investigations. Nobody talked about my first life. We ate pizza. We argued about baseball. Victoria complained because I had grease on my shirt. It was completely ordinary, and I loved every second of it. Then the shop door opened. Claire walked in. The room became quiet. She wasn't wearing her uniform. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked like someone who wasn't hiding behind a badge. Ethan. Victoria looked at me. I nodded slightly. She understood. I'll be outside. Claire watched her leave. She trusts you. Yes. Claire smiled sadly. I never did that very well. I didn't answer. She handed me an envelope. What is this? Something that belonged to you. Inside was a receipt. The engagement ring. The one I'd bought in my first life. My chest tightened. How did you get this? After we broke up, I found the receipt in an old box. Claire swallowed. You were going to propose. In another life. Yes. She looked down. I spent months thinking about what would have happened if I'd been different. Claire. I know. She stopped me. I'm not asking you to come back. That surprised me. I came to say something I should have said a long time ago. She looked directly at me. You loved me better than I loved you. I said nothing, and I took that for granted. Her voice shook. I thought you'd always wait. I remembered my first death. For a moment, the anger returned, but it didn't stay. Claire Bennett no longer had that kind of power over me. I forgive you. She stared at me. What? I forgive you. Tears filled her eyes. After everything. I'm not doing it for you. I looked toward the window. Victoria was outside beside my truck, pretending not to watch us. I smiled. I don't want to carry my first life into this one anymore. Claire followed my gaze. She understood. You really love her. More than I knew I could love someone. That hurt her. But this time, she smiled. Then don't make the mistake I did. What mistake? Thinking they'll always be there. I nodded. I won't. Claire turned toward the door. Before leaving, she looked back. Goodbye, Ethan. This time, the word didn't hurt. Goodbye, Claire. And that chapter of my life finally ended. That evening, Victoria drove me somewhere without telling me where we were going. When the car stopped, I recognized the street. My smile disappeared. The alley, the place where I'd saved her. Rain fell lightly around us. You said you wanted normal. I told her. I changed my mind. Obviously. Victoria walked toward the exact spot where I'd found her bleeding. 1 year ago, you came here knowing what would happen. Yes, you could have stayed away. Yes, you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble. Definitely. She looked offended. I laughed. Then her expression softened. Why did you come? I thought about it. At the time, I believed I was changing fate. Maybe I wanted proof that my second life belonged to me. But now the answer seemed simpler. Because I'd already watched what happened when people decided someone else's life wasn't worth the risk. I stepped closer. I couldn't become like them. Victoria looked at me for a long moment. Then she reached into her coat. Don't tell me that's another ring. No. She handed me a key. I frowned. What is this? A house. I stared at her. Victoria, before you complain. Listen, that sentence usually costs me money. She ignored me. It's not a mansion. That doesn't help. It has a garage for your truck. My truck is fine. Your truck is an insult to mechanical engineering. I laughed. Victoria continued. And there's a backyard. For what? She hesitated, then said, a dog. I stared at her. You agreed to the dog. One dog. I'm witnessing history. And she suddenly looked nervous. That frightened me more than anything. And what? Victoria took my hand and placed it gently against her stomach. For a second, I didn't understand. Then I did. I stopped breathing. Victoria. Her eyes were already wet. I'm pregnant. Everything around me disappeared. The alley, the rain, Chicago, my first death, all of it. Are you serious? She laughed through her tears. Yes. I pulled her into my arms. For a long time, neither of us said anything. I had once died believing my future had been stolen. Now I understood something. It hadn't been stolen. I had simply been given another one, a better one. 8 months later, our daughter was born. Victoria wanted to name her Grace. I agreed immediately. The first time I held her, I couldn't stop staring. Victoria watched from the hospital bed. You're crying. No, you are. I learned from you. She smiled. Then I sat beside her. Grace wrapped her tiny hand around my finger. And suddenly I remembered the warehouse one final time. The cold floor. Claire walking away. Me believing my life was ending with nothing. If someone had told that dying man what was waiting for him, he never would have believed it. A second chance. A business of his own. A wife who would walk through hell to bring him home. A daughter sleeping against his chest. I looked at Victoria. Thank you. She frowned. For what? For coming through that warehouse door. Her expression softened. You came into the alley first. Guess we're even. No. She leaned against me. We're married. Nobody keeps score. That sounds suspiciously mature. Don't ruin the moment. I laughed. Then I kissed her. People would always tell stories about Victoria Romano, the feared mafia heiress, the woman powerful men avoided, the queen of an empire. But that wasn't the woman I knew. I knew the woman who stole my hoodies, the woman who bought 6 pizzas because she didn't know how many normal people ate, the woman who held my hand whenever it rained, and the woman who chose me when choosing me came with a price. In my first life, I loved a police detective because I believed her badge meant she was one of the good people. I learned too late that titles mean nothing. In my second life, I fell for a woman the entire city called dangerous, and she taught me what loyalty actually looked like. Maybe that was the strangest part of my story. The police officer betrayed me. The mafia queen saved me. But my second life was never really about either of them. It was about me finally learning that love shouldn't require you to die proving it. Real love chooses you back. I looked down at my daughter. Victoria rested her head against my shoulder. Outside, rain began tapping softly against the hospital window. Once, that sound had been the last thing I heard before dying. Now it sounded different, not like an ending, like home.